What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Sunday. We're going to be reviewing the Netflix adaptation. Well, not adaptation, but the Netflix movie, the Pinocchio movie by Guillermo del Toro. And it was a fantastic movie. I really liked it. We're going to be reviewing that today. It's going to be a spoiler review, so be warned if you haven't seen it. I highly recommend that you go watch it and then you come back to this stream or video when you finish watching it, because it is a work of art, and I feel like you definitely should watch it before you watch the spoilers. It was definitely something to behold. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the channel, and then we're going to get right into it. First off, we have Jane Theory here. Hi, Jane.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Hi, I'm so happy you're here. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like it's been a minute since I've seen you.
It's been a while.
Yeah. It's so Happy New Year, by the way. I don't think I've seen you since last year. This is our first review of 2023. I just realized that. Oh my God, that's kind of cool. Well, before we get started, tell everyone where they can find you, Jane.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. I post movie and television reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary.
Yay! Woo! That's awesome. Woohoo. And all of Jane's links is in the description, as well as Script Doctors, who is here also. Hi, Script Doctor.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on tonight. Can't wait to talk about this movie. It feels like I haven't seen any of you all year.
I know. It's been so long since we've seen each other. 8 days. Well, actually, I think I've seen you before that.
I think yeah, we chatted earlier.
Yeah, it was yeah. I haven't seen Jane longer than you, but
Yeah,
I'm glad
likewise.
to see you all the time, so it doesn't matter. I'm so happy you're here. Links are in the description. We will be joined possibly by some other folks that'll be joining late, but we're gonna get started because we have a lot to talk about. This movie was really good, and I want to get into the nitty gritty of it. So first off, let's start by kind of getting everybody's thoughts about what you thought of the movie. So Jane, why don't we start with you? What did you think about
Sure.
Pinocchio?
Overall, I really enjoyed it. It was an interesting take on the fairy tale, I guess. Um, there were some moments I felt it was a little bit sort of on the darker side, a little bit more emotional, but that's in a way very much more authentic, perhaps, than the Disney version. So, but I liked it.
Awesome. And we are joined by another lovely lady. It's Teresa. Hi, Miss Smart Muses. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing fantastic. Glad I was able to make it.
Yay, I'm so glad you were able to make it too. We just finished introduction, so real quick, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. I've been talking about kind of happy things, so it's a good every Wednesday at noon Central. I have a new video coming out in the new year. I've been talking about the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien and the source material for House of the Dragon.
Nice. That's excellent stuff. Okay, so we're just getting into our thoughts about the movie. So Script Doctor, what did you think of the movie?
I really enjoyed it. I thought everyone gave a great performance. My only criticism is that I was annoyed with the kids who voiced Pinocchio's constantly cheery voice all the time.
I loved him.
But I was really taken by it. I loved the father-son relationship that led up to the creation of Pinocchio. I was really fascinated how the story addresses the fallout of both of the world wars that occurred in the early 1900s. I thought Ewan McGregor did a great job as the cricket.
Yes, he did an excellent job. And unlike you, I enjoyed the little boy's voice very much.
You enjoyed the voice being happy all the time. I want ice cream. Oh, this is great. I don't even need to eat. I'm a wooden boy.
I did, because I thought that he was really like close to actual kids where they're like really happy all the time until they realize that they're not happy, and then they go really like the opposite direction. But I don't know. I thought it was really good. His singing voice was beautiful. So it was like, at first I thought maybe he's a little girl. So I was a little bit surprised because he could hit those really high notes. But I feel like after he hits puberty, his voice is going to change drastically. That's going to be really interesting to see. But what about you, Teresa? What did you think of the movie?
I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I cried and cried through the whole thing.
Me
It
too.
was ridiculous. I also had COVID while I was watching it, so
Oh
that might have
no.
affected I was feeling sick, but everything just brought out all these emotions, these childhood memories, and just the great love between the father and the son originally,
Mm-hmm.
and then when the little boy got killed, and then when Pinocchio came, and just the way it was such a great testament to the love of a father for his child, and the imagery, the Italian imagery, the crucifix, and just how lovingly they did that. Oh yeah, and these scenes, like when he's going and visiting the grave,
Mm-hmm.
I just cried, and the singing was beautiful. It was very, very poignant.
I love how they kind of started by narrating the tale in that sense, like just kind of give you the idea of the loss and how he felt, and then they kind of went into the relationship that he has with
Mhm.
his son Carlo, because you don't really in the original tale of Pinocchio, you don't really see that, like his actual relationship with the son and what they did, and all that kind of stuff. It's like it really the movie or the story kind of begins with him making Pinocchio. So I thought it was really cool, kind of like backstory to show what they were going through. And I thought that this shot specifically was really beautiful. And because it kind of like as the cricket was narrating it, he was saying, he was taken by the war, and you can kind of tell like in the foreshadowing that he's going to be killed by the planes somehow.
Mm.
And I thought that this was a really interesting kind of uh, foreshadowing, as I said. And the other thing that is really interesting, and I want to point out because I saw someone in the chat mention Tom Hanks. This is not the Tom Hanks version because there is another Pinocchio live action Disney movie. So this is not to be mistaken with that movie. This is
good.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
good.
It's not a horror film like the other one was.
No, this is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and it is all hand designed. What is it called?
It's stop motion animation puppets.
Mhm.
Just amazing.
Oh,
It
it's just
is
so beautiful.
magnificent in that sense. Like I think is it in a way it is a lost art. I couldn't believe. I think it's taken him like 15 years to build this. There's so much details, so much like life and energy and colors and beauty in this movie that cannot really be you know discussed unless it's seen. That's why I really want people to make sure that they're watching the movie before they watch this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like this is definitely a lost art in that sense. What did you guys think of some of these details? Like, did anything stick out to you?
The visuals are absolutely stunning. I'm always impressed by this kind of art. This and it really isn't art.
Mhm.
This type of movie making because of the time and dedication it requires for it.
Mhm.
But it's also one of those movies that, as you're watching it, nearly every scene itself is beautiful. You could literally just print it and have it as art, and that's something that
Absolutely.
just blows me away.
Look at this, like even this
Yeah.
one scene, right? Like with like this one side character that's saying hello to Geppetto. Like look at how much detail has gone into like this guy's little
The
place. Like
blacksmith, yeah.
yeah, the blacksmith. Like you pretty much never see this guy again. Like this is like one of those scenes. There's so much detail, and then you never see this guy again. But it's just so magnificent in that sense, and that's why I say it's such a lost art form because you don't get this kind of movie anymore these days. Like even with something like Avatar, where you can tell like Avatar is visually stunning and
Mhm.
beautiful, but like a lot of people, including myself, like I know you loved it, Jane, but a lot of people, including myself, thought that the story was mediocre. Like it was like, okay, it was fine. It's got a lot of plot holes. Whereas in this, it's on another grand scale of visuals, first of all, because it's all handmade versus
Yeah.
AI. God, Jane, sorry. Dissing people here. But the handmade, the human connection and like the human aspect of it just cannot be overstated. I think it's magnificent.
It is magnificent because the animation is so smooth. For a good 10 minutes, I thought this was a computer animated
I did too. Before
film.
I realized that it wasn't, I was like, I totally thought it was computer
No.
animated.
Just that shot there with the fire, that is computer
Oh.
animated. But like just the fire is, not the statues, not the puppetry in the bottom part. But
Mhm.
it's really well done. It's so smooth compared to all other stop motion films that have come before.
Mhm.
Just absolutely magnificent. And the other part too is, you were mentioning the attention to detail. The attention to detail on the faces when they
Yes.
are making expressions, or when Geppetto is in complete mourning or drunk, it's very much like they really paid attention to it, and it really comes across to the point where you start forgetting that these are essentially puppets.
Mhm.
It kind
Uh,
of, when you look at the production value too, like behind the scenes, it reminds me of early Disney.
yeah, when they actually cared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About
the
stuff.
loving attention to detail, and also paralleled by what you see with Geppetto. He
Mhm.
did the same thing.
Yeah. And I think that one of the biggest takeaways for me for this show was the fact that, we often talk about how we don't like it when people reimagine things, or we don't like things that are made for a modern audience or whatever. But I think that this is kind of like the height of something that I love. Like I love the story of Pinocchio. But I thought that this reimagining and this kind of like, this is his version, this is the way he wanted to tell the story. But I thought that he did this magnificently because he didn't take anything away from the original story.
Yeah.
And he just added his own aspect and placed it in a different time. And I thought at first, when he was doing the war stuff, like I was like, ooh, it's like a slippery slope, like you don't know where it's going to end up. And it ended up in a really, really good place in that sense. Like I thought that, the antagonists and you know, eh, the situation called for so much more in this movie. It added so much more depth and so much more, like what you were saying, Jane. It added like kind of that darkness, that that gritty feel
Mhm.
that you don't necessarily think you want, but you end up needing it because it adds so much more substance.
It's
So
rooted in emotion too. Like it
it is.
is deeply emotional.
Mhm.
It has so many layers to it with all the characters and their various motivations. It's just quality writing, quality storytelling, quality
Yes.
production. I mean, you can't ask for more than that.
So, like for example, we start with the pine cone. So at
Mhm.
that was the first kind of like a seed that was planted, but it starts with how Geppetto wants to teach his son the different things about wood carving and different things like that, and he talks about the different types of wood, and they go to the woods and they grab this pine cone, and he teaches him that you need a full pine cone in order to get a full, like a beautiful pine to rise from it. And he goes and he grabs this pine, and this pine is the thing that he goes back for inside the building when it is accidentally bombed, because it wasn't even planned. Like it wasn't even a planned bombing for their village, and the warplanes that are heading back to their base just had to become lighter, so they let go of the bombs, and it happens to drop on this tiny little village, on this tiny little church, where Pinocchio was at the time, and the
Carlo.
pine cone survives.
Yeah,
Where Carlo was, not
I'm
Pinocchio.
sorry.
Carlo.
Yes,
It's okay.
Carlos. That's right, Carlos. Well,
Played by a
Carlos
different
Soul.
actor. So.
That's true. But he was so he's there, and the pine cone survives, but he doesn't. And of course, that's how we get our start. So that we know that this is going to be the piece of wood. And we don't really know how it is going to happen yet, but we see it. And it's really interesting because it took such a long time, because trees take a long time to
About 20 years.
Yep.
Mhm.
So like about 20 years pass by. I love the fact that the cricket shows up, and again, that's one of those things where when you think about the realistic factor of shows, and how a lot of people are like, oh, I want it to be more real, so I'm going to take away, let's say, the cricket. But the cricket is like an essential part of Pinocchio's story. It's the voice inside his heart, and I love the fact that they made the character live in his heart. Like, that was basically like he was living inside the tree, and he's like, hey, that's my home. As he's like, like when Geppetto cuts down the tree, he's like, hey, what are you doing with my tree? That's my home. So that's why he like follows him to the place. And I thought that the character development, even for the cricket, was absolutely amazing, because he's just kind of out to get his own thing. He wants to become this writer. He doesn't really care about anything else but himself. And I thought that was also a really interesting start to his story and his character development. Let me go to this thing here. Yeah.
The reveal at the end of who the cricket is narrating to was also quite nice. I like
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. That was so good. I thought the fairy godmother was really interesting, because we Jane, you saw the other fairy godmother, like
I
the recent the recent one with was it Billy Porter? I think that he's the latest one.
Yeah, honestly, this was probably the one thing I did not like.
Oh, okay. Tell me why. Why
Because
didn't you?
I wanted the fairy
You
to
wanted like the
be
actual fairy.
yes.
Not a wood nymph.
Or a sprite thing or whatever.
Yes, right, whatever they're called.
Well, I thought it was It was an interesting take, because it was still feminine in a sense, so I like that. Well, she's got boobies, but
It works with the art and everything, but I just
you wanted
All
the
the eyes
fairy.
on the wings.
Yeah. Well, her face looks kind of creepy.
yeah.
It did look kind of creepy. I like the little eyes that like separated and then came together to form the being. I thought it was interesting. Like at first, I thought I wanted the fairy too, Jane, but because it's already so different, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with it, And it wasn't like I didn't feel too robbed of the fairy situation. I thought like I thought it was interesting too. The other aspect of it was when it was talking, like her mouth didn't move. So it was like interesting to me that they were trying to like portray that she's like kind of telepathically talking to Jimmy. Well, I was gonna call him Jiminy Cricket, but his name is Sebastian Cricket or something like that. So when it's talking to the cricket, like it's talking to him through telepathy, and I thought that was interesting because you see everything else move, like even like the cricket's little mustache moves, so you can tell that they're talking really through verbal communication, but she's not.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that
Does
details that.
Staccato says angels with multiple wings and eyes on those wings is pretty classic imagery. It is. It's actually biblical too, I believe.
Yep.
But I still wanted
You just wanted the fairy. I know what you mean.
Just
I
on
kind
principle.
of did too.
Wings.
I kind of wanted like the magical fairy too, because I guess like sort of I wanted that because I wanted to see them make the beautiful fairy. You know what I mean? Like I wanted like, but they didn't do that. But it's okay. It's okay. 201 Studios for $2 says happy Sunday. Hope all is well. All is well here. I hope you've seen this movie because this is really good. I think you'll like it. 201 Studios. Oh, we've got another guest joining us.
Ooh.
someone with a very beautiful mustache. This Latino slant. Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry I'm late.
Oh, it's all good. It's all you're Mexican through and through. Always late.
Oh my
It's-
gosh.
It's all good. Hey, I can say that. I live here.
Oh yeah.
Well, looks like the concept of life and death here in this movie is very Mexican. You know, we show up on. I'll be there. I said I'll be there. Here
Ahorita.
Ahorita, mañana.
Mañana. But I'm so glad you're here. We were just kind of discussing the different the different our different takes of the movie and everything, and we're at the point where the fairy shows up, and Jane was saying that she would have liked you know, a more classical looking fairy than this. What are your thoughts on the fairy situation, Paulie?
I mean, I think for me it felt very kind of, I want to say, Mesoamerican underworld lore.
Ah, okay.
So I thought it was a bold choice, just like with the look of Pinocchio. It was so different, so
Yeah,
it all worked for me. It all worked for me.
it worked for
and-
me too, but I did want the fairy, but it worked for me too. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with this.
Well, you know,
At first,
know-
I didn't even know if I liked the look of the cricket, and then I started liking him as the movie kept going along. I was like, okay, I don't know if I like this cricket look, but it's
yeah,
but it's so beautiful. Like it's like, and then the more things happen to him, the more you're like, oh, it's a little cricket. He got squished again. You know, like poor little thing. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So, Paulie, since you got here a little late,
Yeah.
can you tell us what you thought overall of the movie? What were your overall thoughts?
Well, first of all, this is thanks for inviting me, and
Of course.
hey, script doctor, Mrs. Martin, and Jane Theory. Sorry, I'm late. This was my second favorite movie of the year. I got to see it in the theater. Which is always, such a unique experience. With most good films, this is an extraordinary take. It was very moving for me, which is really odd because it's an animation film. For me, that doesn't happen a lot. I found myself at the
You
end of the
felt
film,
emotions.
closing credits, crying, and then when I walked out, I called both parents.
Oh,
Mm.
I was crying too, Polly. It was so emotional. I was like, I just finished rewatching the movie like right
Mhm.
before the stream. So I watched it twice.
Oh, that's
And
great.
the first time I like bawled my eyes out. The
Mhm.
second time I usually, when that happens, like when I bawled my eyes out the first time at a movie, it doesn't
Yeah.
usually happen the second time. I bawled my eyes out the second time I
Yeah.
watched a movie. So it's definitely something else in that sense. 201 Studios is going to be banned for this comment. I heard the acting in the film was wooden for $2.
Hardy har har.
Har har.
Dick-to-dish.
Ya banned for that
Yeah.
dad joke. Okay, so I thought the World War II aspect was really interesting. This part was really cool when Pinocchio finally comes to life and they go into this song. I really like that. This exact scene was really funny when he's just like the chamber pot. What
Mhm.
to do with it? Like
Yeah, and that's another thing, is that the songs and the score are incredible. I have it on replay. What you gonna do? What do you got? Call it. I love this song. Oh my god, he's
He's
so
like, that's
cute.
a chamber pot. What
That's
to
a
do
clock.
with
It's a
it?
clock.
Yeah. He's like, he didn't
Yeah.
even explain what the chamber pot was. He's just like, no, and he's like putting it on his head. Oh, so good. That was such a
Mhm.
great scene. And then as the story goes on, of course, Pinocchio follows his father to work, even though he told him to stay
Mhm.
there. and then you kind of start seeing the imagery of War 2 again appearing around town, which again is all hand built. This is all hand design. Beautiful.
The only thing
beautiful
not
stuff.
carved was Pinocchio himself. He was 3D printed.
Oh, was he?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Well,
And he only has
certain
one ear.
iterations of him. Not every iteration of him.
Yeah, I think there was a couple that was made by hand. That had to, because they had to make the different sizes of him, right?
They can do that on a 3D printer.
I don't know.
Yeah,
there was something that
I'd
said.
like to double check that. But I mean, either way, I mean, it's
Everybody
pretty
Google.
extraordinary. But
Yeah, it was in the second part of the movie, which it is a combination in a way. I highly recommend that everybody watch the behind the scenes of this movie that Netflix has as well, because it shows you how much work went into it and who was in it and all the voices and everything like that. This part was really interesting when he goes into the church and everyone starts freaking out. They're like, "You're demon." I mean, it is a talking puppet, you guys. That would freak me out. I'd be like, "What the is happening?" And I thought that a little bit later on, their other conversation was really interesting, where he's kind of like, "Well, how come everybody likes that guy? He's made out of wood." And I kind of thought that Geppetto would kind of explain why, like, but he didn't, which was interesting because he just kind of went with the, people are just afraid of what they don't understand. But I thought he was going to, like, at least explain, like, well, that's Jesus.
that's Jesus.
But they didn't. But they didn't really go into that, which was interesting to me again, because I guess like they stayed on topic. Like, it wasn't about that. It was more about what you don't understand than anything else, like in a religious story,
But it also has an allegorical aspect of it to what Pinocchio goes through up until the very end.
This is true. And then this guy right here,
Played by Ron Perlman.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Voiced by Ron. Yep.
That's great. He was such an asshole, but there was a couple really funny scenes, like when he shows up at Geppetto's house the first time, and I think it was like right before this. That's when he finds out he can lie, by the way. When he shows up at Geppetto's house, I'm trying to get that scene, because these are the things that made the movie really funny in some say this part. So he does like the Hitler salute, and this guy is like just kind of like following along. So he does the Hitler salute and the bike falls.
Oh, that was the church in Italy back then.
I know, but it was just so funny because it's like, he could have done it with the other hand, like held on to the bike with the other hand, but he did it with his Hitler hand. So he's like, it's just like, so fuck. I don't know why that cracked me up. I was like, that's hilarious. It's just like the detail that they went into to even add that bit of humor was interesting to me. Then he goes, when they're inside, and Geppetto goes like, "What? Go sit by the fire and warm your feet." I was like, that's not good advice. He's wooden. Like,
kindling, yeah.
You don't want him to burn, do you? This is an interesting question. Is it possible to spoil if you saw the original animated Pinocchio? Yes, because this is different. This is a different take. The original animated Pinocchio has no World War II plot line or anything like that. So definitely, you can spoil this. Mr. Grant Gregory, thank you so much for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Welcome. Let's see.
Yay.
He also said, not gonna lie, the ending of the film kind of wrecked me.
Yes.
You and me both, man. You
That was a mess.
and me both. And apparently Teresa.
Yep. It was ugly. It was very, very ugly.
Oh my god. Oh my
It's all
god.
about that full acorn
God,
dropping. That was it.
that part though, when he's like telling him like, oh, you're like, when he's explaining like what a burden is to Pinocchio, like the little cricket, I was like, oh my God, like you could tell that that's what's gonna happen. Like he's gonna like that is he's gonna call him that at some point. And I was like, when he did, I was like, no, don't say that. Because he took it so personally. I love the monkey. He was great. Such a good character. What'd you guys think of this evil dude?
Well, was it Spazzattini? Spazzattini? That's voiced by Kate Blanchett.
What?
Yep. And so
You mean the little monkey?
Yep. So they were filming Nightmare Alley, and he was kind of Del Toro was double bagging a little bit, and he had
hey.
So he had this going, and he had Nightmare Alley going, and he had to get this role filled, and he asked Kate Blanchett, who was the lead in Nightmare Alley, and she jumped at it.
Oh. That's interesting because the monkey doesn't really talk.
Well, I was going to say that.
Go ahead.
Was that if you there are, I don't know if it's that featurette, but there are other behind the scenes videos where she talks about doing the role with glee, and then she makes the sounds, and you see Kate Blanchett making the sounds of Spaghettini.
Oh my God,
that's so cool.
I love Kate Blanchett.
Spazzattini or whatever his name is.
Yeah, the real Galadriel.
Yeah, the
real actor.
Brother. Yeah.
I don't know what his name is. I don't think it's Stratifi. It's like Strakat. I don't.
I'll get the cast up.
Yeah, what was the monkey's name?
Volpe was played by Christoph Waltz.
Spazzatura.
Spazzatura.
That's what the monkey's name is. Spazzatura.
And then Podesta is Ron Perlman, and then the other kid, Candlewick.
Yeah, Candlewick. What an interesting name too. Now, but with regards to Spazzatura, like, what did you guys actually think of that? Because he wouldn't talk, but the puppets that he puppeteered would. Jane, what did you think of that? Are you talking? I can't hear you.
Are you talking? Jane?
She's in a different multi-dimension.
Yeah. She's in a different dimension.
Did her AI take over?
I think the AI did her and you guys. Paulie, what did you think of that? What were your thoughts on how the other puppets would talk?
Yeah, I mean, I been thinking about it. There's different ways of communication. It seemed that Spazzatura and Pinocchio communicated perfectly. There was never, which is why Spazzatura, I think, befriended Pinocchio and became part of the family. I mean, that wrecked me too.
Oh my God, that was so sweet. But I mean, he got so abused. I love that part when he's like, I think it was like a lot later, but I love that part where he's like, he's my co-star, don't treat him like that. And he's like, he's like, if I'm the star of the show, how dare you treat my co-stars like that? Maybe I'll go home. And he's like, I mean, it was just such a cute little thing where he's like standing up for his co-star. I was like, this kid's the cutest. That's why I love the voice script doctor. It was just so cute. Kept like, he even when he wanted to like be angry, he was super cute. It was adorable.
He was cheery all the time.
I know, it was cheery all the time. It was so funny. Where was okay, hold on. Let me get that part where he's going when he dies. So that was
the first time. Yeah.
The first time was really interesting. We kind of get this idea that Pinocchio, the reason that he's, it's not just that he's a boy made out of wood. It's that he's also immortal. So when he dies, he goes to this place where these bunnies looking things are playing poker. And then he goes to see this other creature, which is apparently the sister of that nymph thing that gave him life to begin with. And it kind of the aesthetics was really interesting. The afterlife was really interesting, and how it wasn't really like, I guess it's not really afterlife. It was more of like a purgatory, where their spirits go before they move on. So I thought that was interesting because this creature is clearly, the guide to the next phase or whatever you want to call it. But it tells him that, because you're immortal, you're gonna keep dying over and over. But each time you come back, you're gonna spend more time with me. It's a waiting period before you go back and you relive again and again.
Which is so sad.
I know. But he doesn't understand that at first, and he's really happy about it. Like Script Doctor said, he's very innocent, and he's just like, "Well, okay, like that sounds fine." Like it's just okay then. And he kind of likes that idea, but then when he goes back, the SS dude is like extremely happy because he's just like, "Oh my god, we found like a freaking immortal soldier. Like we have to recruit this kid." And have him fight our war for us. And of course, the other guy, who's a different kind of vulture, is like, man, I got this kind of like milk cow for the rest of my life, the golden goose. Like he's just gonna keep laying that egg, and I'm just gonna keep cashing it in. So then like these two are kind of like going at it in terms of like, who should take this kid. Meanwhile, Geppetto is like, he's my kid. I'm taking him home. And then and then as he's going, kind of realize like, what happened to him. And this is the first time that we get kind of like that kind of fight between Geppetto and Pinocchio, and that he calls him that word. He calls him a burden. And oh my god, that broke my heart when he's like, "Oh, you're such a burden." Look at his face. He's so sad.
Well, he's not wrong.
Oh my god, Script Doctor, you're so mean.
Well, that's part of Pinocchio's arc. He starts off as a burden, like a joyful part, but then he burdens Geppetto because he doesn't listen ever to Geppetto. He has to make all these mistakes before he realizes the value of what Geppetto is trying to convey to him, and then that's when he starts to become a real boy.
Yeah, and
But I mean, kids can also just be a burden.
Yeah, I was about to say all children are burdens.
Well, that's I mean, it's a big part of this is our childhoods.
They're a blessing and a burden. It's both.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you love them to death, but yes,
they're definitely there's definitely that. But I mean, look at this scene. I just randomly paused it. Look how much detail they put in this, like these woods and this creating this forest and like
the lighting,
everything, lighting, the amount of detail on this tree. Like there's just everything about it, like the ground, the rocks. This is all handmade, people.
So much love.
Look at this. Look how gorgeous this shot is. It's like every pause that I make is like Jane said, it's like a picture.
I wonder if they have merch.
I would buy merch.
They should.
Well, they definitely had some of the actual figures that the puppets that they worked with on display, where Guillermo del Toro was doing a Q&A yesterday in Hollywood, and it was this incredible. I got some video of it, some incredible display in the hallway of all these characters.
Ooh.
But you're right, man. Merch would just rock.
Look at the detail. Look, you got a little oh my god, like it's so amazing how much work they've put into this.
And someone said in the chat that Pinocchio looks undone. That's done on purpose.
It was not on purpose.
It was on purpose, where Del Toro wanted a very much like a Frankenstein approach, kind of like, not fully done, hastily done by Geppetto.
He made him when he was drunk, like he was this drunken mess of a man. and then he
Mhm.
breaks his legs, and then he kind of makes him new legs, but they're just kind of like as bad, if not worse. Like it's just it wasn't like he didn't take care to make this puppet. Like it wasn't something he planned on doing.
It also makes him look authentic. Like this is
Mhm.
what it would look like
Yeah.
I think
if it were
so.
real.
Build your old boy. That's what comes out.
This is better
Yeah.
than an Outlet car.
And this is the major difference, right? Is that this is Pinocchio. This it like he doesn't change as far as his outward look in this film.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's Del Toro wanted to do that on purpose. I thought that was just fucking brilliant, man.
I love how
creepy.
his eye was blind.
Mhm.
So you could tell, like, shit's happened to this character. Like this kid's been through this thing has been through the rear,
Mhm.
I love the animation they did, like the propaganda that
Mhm.
they made for Mussolini. That was hilarious. 200 Watt Studios or 5 says, don't ban this person, but someone in the chat said, if a wooden boy dies, he goes to the river of sticks. Ba-dum-bum.
Oh,
I hate you, 200 Watt Studio.
To
In
the
best
river
way possible.
sticks.
God damn it. Yeah, it's to
If-
river sticks.
If I could say something about let me know when I can say something about death.
Go
and
ahead.
about so this, they talked about staying in the underworld longer each time he did that, and how he enjoyed death as far as the company. And then you showed the Mussolini and all the it seems we're way more evil than the underworld than death. And Del Toro was saying, was saying, obviously showing this on purpose. And I'm paraphrasing, but Del Toro was quoted as saying that there was always a voice in my head saying, "Go and live," and that voice was death. And I think this like
Wow.
I don't know if that's in the film, if that is a quote from the film, but he reiterated that in a lot of his interviews, because that's really how he wanted that duality of our life in the present and on our outlook on death. It's just extraordinary, man.
It's beautiful in that sense. And the other part of it too, though, is it made me kind of like go look up like when Pinocchio was originally written, which was, I was surprised because I guessed it was like gonna be something like 1928, but it was something like 1890 or something like that, which is like way older than I expected. But I thought, like, having watched this movie, it kind of gave me like a new perspective on the old tale as well, which was that this movie was really about, like, the story was really about an adopted son, or like an adopted child. And I think it was about the fact that there was a lot of orphans back then, and a lot of people had to adopt children. And it was the idea of how maybe they're not your own, but basically they can be, and you just have to learn to love them for who they are. And I think that idea kind of resonates. I mean, in this movie as well, because war brings a lot of orphans. That's that's one of the very unfortunate side effects of war, is that it's going to create orphans. And this is an orphan story in that sense, because I think symbolically that's what Pinocchio was for Geppetto, his adopted son, was that he wasn't really ever Carlo again. He wasn't Carlo, he was Pinocchio. They're the puppets that are the monkey talks through these puppets. Look at this scene. Just sitting there, so beautiful. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying it's beautiful, but this is the kind of crap that gives you nightmares. Look, what the hell is that?
I know. It's so great though. Alejandro, thank you so much for the $5. Says love Bardo and this. Bardo, what's that?
This is my boy Alejandro. So Bardo is a film done by Iñárritu that was out this year as well.
Oh, okay.
The
I'm
other
writing it
Mexican
down.
director. There's,
Uh,
that's what he's talking about.
Got to see them speak. The three amigos are some of the best filmmakers ever. Huge inspirations for us indie Latino filmmakers. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I mean, I talked to my Mexican friends, and they say Guillermo del Toro is basically like a national treasure for Mexico. They're very proud of Guillermo and his skills, and I mean, as they should be. I mean, look at this. This is.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever watched anything Guillermo del Toro I didn't like. Not
And then
one.
yeah, and that's the meeting I was telling you about. Those three directors got
Mhm.
together the other night and had a Q&A, and I guess Alejandro, who's a filmmaker as well, the guy who just super chatted you.
Yes,
Okay.
He he got to be there. Yeah, Script Doctor knows him as well.
Oh.
He got to be in attendance at that jerk.
Paulie's jealous. That's so funny.
So jealous, man. I mean,
Why didn't you go?
I wasn't invited, man. I'm going
It
to.
was invites only, and you didn't get invited. Oh no!
I guess I'm not that cool, eh? You know, it's all right.
God, Alejandro, next time extend an invite to your boy Latino Slant.
Hey, he gave you $5. I love
I
it.
know that is so sweet. Thank you so much, Alejandro. But yeah, so there we go. I mean, this is I can't explain. Look at this. This is so cool. When he got swallowed by the whale, I gotta say, I was very happy that he got swallowed by a whale
Yes.
because I was a little concerned with how like he was taking the direction of how much he was changing. Because I really, for example, like I really, really, really wanted the the cat and fox, like, you know, I wanted those things in a sense. Like I wanted the circus, I wanted the cat and fox taking him to the circus, I wanted the donkeys, and I did, like, he didn't do any of that. So when that happened, I was like, I want, like, I hope that he does the whale, because the whale is such an essential part of the story that if I don't, just like cricket, I don't think you could take it out of the story and then have it still be Pinocchio. So I was really happy that he did that. The whale design though was interesting to me. It was different.
Didn't look like a whale, but it was cool.
Yeah, it didn't look like the regular whale. It was like this like weird monstrous fish. Look at it. It's like weird looking.
Yeah. It was the aesthetically interesting whale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This part
It-
cracked me up
Gosh,
of how long that
Look at his
car
use
was.
of color.
It
Yeah.
reminded the whale reminded me of like those blowfish,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, and then
Mhm.
some like
Or that fish with the weird antenna that has the glowing bubble at the end of
Yeah.
it.
correct.
That thing, that's what it reminded me of, Script Doctor. You're right. I kept thinking, like, what is that thing that it reminds me of? And that's what it was.
It also reminded me of a really old guy. You know, the old men that had the big jaw that just and the big underbite type of thing going on with the jowls.
I mean, you're right, Script. It's like that fish was so unique. Every character, see, this is how, if you're going to how do you retell a story that's been told over and over again?
Exactly.
This is how you do it, guys.
Yes.
You take a little bit of license, total new vision as far as look and feel. Oh my god.
I
Look how short
loved
Mussolini
this
is.
scene. I was dying at how tiny he was.
Yeah.
And he had the longest car. Like
Right.
this whole scene was so fun. I just want to play the scene. It was like, look at this scene. Like, it starts with this car, and it's just going. Like, the scar just goes
And
and
the doors
goes
over and over.
Yeah. Someone
Right.
has penis envy.
Oh yeah.
That would be this
he
dictator,
does.
right?
The
Yeah,
big
he does
red
right
rod.
here. This dude, because he's
This
tiny.
piece of shit.
Look
Excuse
at
You
him.
my
got to
language.
compensate.
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
Douche.
But it's so funny too, because the juxtaposition of the reds versus all the grays and the monotone colors, it just helps it pop out so
Mhm.
much. And then you got the sun and the setting sun that gives that orange feel, just so beautiful and so detailed. Again, and then you have the argument, because the argument preceded this event And Pinocchio's like, oh, we're gonna give him a show, all right. Like, because he pissed him off a little bit and he found out he's lying to him about his dad, sending him money to his dad. So he kind of makes like an anti-propaganda thing where he, dances around with a piece of poo that's supposed to be Mussolini.
Mhm.
And then that he's like, that guy's like, shoot him. So he shoots him again. He dies. And this time, this thing explains to him, hey, like, it's gonna be more and more time as you go back. And he's just like, oh, okay. And he goes back. And this time, this guy's like, yeah, I'm taking you. You're gonna become a soldier now. This is your life. And so, and again, I thought this was a really interesting juxtaposition to what the original tale was, which was because, like,
The
at first,
circus.
the circus, yeah. But I thought that originally, I thought that the puppet show was the circus. But I think this is even more of a circus because of what they really do here and what kind of like how many kids are involved in it versus the puppet show, because he was the only one at the puppet show, whereas in like all the kids are in this one. In the other one, in the old tale, all the kids were at the circus too, and they all becoming donkeys. In this case, they're becoming kind of like child soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Little
I thought,
Yahtzees.
yeah. And this whole conversation with
That's
Candlewick. Yeah, Candlewick was really sweet as well. I didn't get why there was a little part here where they argued. And he was like telling him stuff. I forget the exact line. I should have written it down, but he says something to him, and I was like, well, he's lying. Why isn't his nose growing? So there was a couple moments where I think they kind of like forgot about that because Pinocchio did lie to him in this scene, and his nose didn't grow. So I was like, that's interesting. I caught that on the second watch. We got someone who didn't like the movie. I thought this was terrible. Says Saul. Well,
Well,
I
yeah,
guess everybody likes everything.
there's a couple of people in the chat that aren't particularly fans of the movie.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird to me because I thought this was a wonderful movie.
There is a good point that brings in. Maybe we can talk later about it. But as far as is this suitable for kids?
I would well, depending on how young. Like, are we talking?
I think 8 and older, they would get it.
Yeah, like, are we talking like 3-4-year-olds? No, I would say no. But if we're talking like 10, 11, 12, yes, of course. Why not? I think they would. I think it has a lot of really great lessons that I think this generation's missing, actually. They're missing these kind of movies, these kind of, raising these questions of morality and immortality, like the idea of, this life isn't like a video game. You can't keep coming back. This is what makes us real is the loss of life and how precious life is. Those kind of things aren't usually taught to kids at a young age anymore, and I think they should be. Disney movies actually used to be really good at doing stuff like that.
Yes.
Like that's why a lot of the old school Disney movies were all about the parent dying, like Bambi. You get the first 5 minutes, mom's dead. All of the old school Disney movies were about a death of a loved one that you have to get over and carry on with. So I do. What about you guys? Do you think this is appropriate for kids?
Yeah.
Well, I think you said it pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't show it to 4 or 5-year-olds for one thing, because I wouldn't want to deal with the nightmares with those creepy little angel things. No, thank you. But yeah, kids are capable of handling mature themes like this. Unless you approach anything as a little child, you're never going to get it anyways. If that makes sense. And so I think that these are good lessons, and it's so nice to see a father-son relationship. I can't get over that enough.
What about you, Jane? Do you think this is appropriate for kids?
As long as it's age appropriate, yeah, I feel like it's definitely reminiscent of, like you said before, what a lot of us grew up watching in those earlier fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a part of life, and it is, I think, good to expose children to characters who are going through loss and observe how they experience it. I think that's something that's important for kids to see.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, I think they are generally able to handle it quite well. And it shows them how to manage their emotions because we see a
Yeah.
wide range of them in these stories. And it's okay for them to show sadness and feelings of loss,
Mm-hmm.
which oftentimes you don't get anymore in entertainment, and oftentimes kids feel ashamed for having those feelings. So seeing that
Mm-hmm.
expressed on screen, I think, is quite healthy.
Agreed. And I thought again, and this is something that I see quite often as well, is that this is Saul says this is a kids movie with Mussolini's fascism because fascism. Now that's the thing, right? Because Mussolini is a real character, or a real person, was a real person, and fascism did actually exist. So, just because
And this
now
movie is not pro-fascism at all.
No, it's
no.
No.
happening in a time and place. Like, you can't pretend that it wasn't the reality of that time.
Exactly. And what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of people nowadays that go like, "Oh, everything's woke because has a black person in it, or it's because it has a woman in it, or this and that." But not necessarily, like, because just because they're talking about fascism doesn't mean that they're talking about it in 2023's way that they're describing it. Not like, oh, this guy's just such a fascist. Like, no, Mussolini was actually a fascist, and they're talking about that time period. And so of course they have to portray him as the way he was, because that is a realistic thing, that some
Yeah.
a
So I
person.
just go back to the director's vision. Okay.
Sure.
So that's like probably like the best way to get to it, especially one like as Del Toro that's so well spoken about his vision. He worked on this movie for over 15 years.
Hmm.
Fascism for him is everyone stay in line, order, don't question, follow the rules. And Pinocchio was, he's a kid. He doesn't know
Hmm.
what rules are. He's asking all these innocent questions. And this is what you get. Also, too, he said that he made this movie for kids from 8 to 81. And that is what this movie is, who this
This
movie is
There
for.
was a really interesting conversation actually earlier in the
Hmm.
movie where he talked about, with Pinocchio, the scene where they were fighting in the forest, and he said, well, the government tells us you have to go to this youth camp now, like you have to do it,
Hmm.
and we have to do what the government tells us to do. And he's like, why? And he's like, because we just do, like, we have to do it. And he keeps going, why do we have to do it? Because we all know that's not the right thing to do.
Mhm.
We, as watchers of the show, as the audience, we know that's not the right thing to do. We know that's something that, if that happens now, you have to stand up and say something about that and voice your opposition to that. But back then you couldn't voice your opposition to that, then and that's the dilemma, because we always want to kind of put up the law as this kind of like binding moral thing. But the law isn't that. The law can be changed quite easily, just like how slavery used to be a law,
Mhm.
and people listened to that for quite a long time until things changed. So again, it brings up those kind of questions in this movie that I don't think any recent movie has done, especially
Yeah.
for kids in that setting.
Yeah,
So that
showing true fascism and showing that monsters aren't always the ones that look like monsters. Humans can be monsters.
that
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and also, I think one of the things that I really really liked for the first time in this iteration of Pinocchio is that he doesn't turn into a real boy in the end. He doesn't become a physical manifestation, a
No
flesh
flesh
and
and blood.
blood
Yeah.
of a human being. He remains wooden. But what happens is that this movie was focused on the soul and what the soul is, and how your spirit means more than flesh and blood. And I think that was the most kind of that was like the biggest takeaway of this movie, that it wasn't focused so much on that this body, right? That wasn't really the point. The point was how life is precious. So I thought that was really interesting as well. And of course, you get the monkey finally stands up to his bully.
That was great.
Such a good scene.
Yeah.
Little Spazzatura finally standing up for
Ended up to Volpe.
yeah. I love how he bit his nose. That was so good.
Again, Christoph Waltz as Volpe.
So good.
Yeah.
There was a part in the movie where I kind of laughed though, because at the end when he does all the stuff that he did, he does end up dying. So he I was kind of questioning in the end, like, well, how did he die in the end though? Because he came back after he set off the bomb, he died. Then he came back to save Geppetto. That was his last request, and
he couldn't wait. He had to go back immediately, and that was the trade-off.
Yeah, but exactly. So the spirit told him, like, you have to, okay, if you're gonna break the rules, your immortality is over. You're gonna get one more life, and that's it. So he goes back. He helps Geppetto get to shore. Like, there he is. He's helping Geppetto get to shore, and he does. And then he's on the shore and he's dead. And I'm like, well, that whole scene was a little bit like difficult for me, because I was just like, I mean, even though it was really emotional, I was like, he's wooden. Like, first of all, he wouldn't sink. He wouldn't drown. He would have a very, very easy time, you would think, of getting Geppetto to the thing, because he's wooden. That was his whole, like, that's his one strength, is that he would be fine in water. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like we're talking about fire here. We're talking about water. So that was my one kind of gripe with it, that the final death didn't quite make sense. Because I think they would have, if they had kept the final death be the explosion, it would have made more sense than him drowning. Because I was like, he drowned? He doesn't even have any lungs. Like, I don't understand how this works. Like, I just didn't understand that part.
Yeah.
I was like, the final death
Well,
needed
it's
to be
weird
something
because
else.
he gets hit by a car and dies, but he's wood.
Well, he at
there's
least
something else going on there. Yeah.
At least the shock of it, like, okay, he broke. Like, okay, you could think, okay, he broke.
I'm laughing.
But the only thing that really
Don't-
broke was his nose.
Was it? Oh yeah, that's true, because he was like, his nose was gross. I thought his arm broke too, didn't it? No, that was this
His
time.
legs were
That was
burnt
in the
off and he had to get them
explosion.
tied back on with replacements.
Yeah, in the explosion, his arm got like messed up, and I actually was like laughing a little bit when he was trying to save Geppetto. I'm trying to find that scene when he's swimming with Geppetto and his little arms going like this.
The nub, yeah.
Yeah, like a little nub, and he's like,
Oh,
like
no.
this.
Oh, it's terrible.
I was like, oh, that poor thing. He's trying so hard, but he should just float. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I can't find it. It was when he was in the water.
Did we mention who's Sebastian J. Cricket?
Yes.
Yes.
Ewan McGregor.
Mhm.
It's Obi-Wan.
Well, I got here late. I don't know. Calm down.
No, but like, I thought this is the best thing Ewan McGregor's done in a long, long time.
Right?
Like,
Yeah, he was
I don't
perfect.
remember. Well, first of all, I haven't seen freaking Kenobi, but
Ugh.
I haven't seen him in anything good in years. So I thought that this was the best thing that he's done.
He's a good singer too.
He is. He is a very good singer. Oh, look at him. He's
Oh, no,
so
sad.
sad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, like, the way that they made us feel the emotions that we did for these characters, it just speaks loads, because I'm already like, little Mikey, he's so sad. Like, like, it's just it was so sweet. And of course, in the end, Jiminy Cricket uses his wish to bring him back to life, even though he shouldn't have died because he floats. But he brings it back to life, which again is an essential part of Pinocchio. Now, there's two other things that I thought was interesting, especially with the tale too, because just generally speaking, that one of the biggest parts of the tale is how he uses his nose to lie, to grow, to make the bridge to the blowhole. Now, that's part of the classic story as well. And I always thought that this was a really interesting part of the Pinocchio story, because for the pretty much the entirety of the book, you're being told, don't lie. Like, lying is bad. Lying makes your nose grow. Lying is a bad thing. But in this instant, it wasn't. And sometimes in the darkest places, you sometimes have to lie in order to be able to survive. And I thought that this was really interesting in a sense of the juxtaposition that it did with specifically with Guillermo del Toro story, because Guillermo del Toro story, because he talks about it in the setting of World War II. And that was a difficult situation with me learning that lesson for myself, because I always thought lying was bad as well, until somebody told me, well, what do you think you would have to do in Nazi Germany if you were hiding Jews in your basement and somebody asked you, are you hiding Jews? Would you lie? And the answer to that, of course, is yes, I would. But I was always told not to lie. But in this case, you have to lie. And he showed it really, really well. What about you guys? What are your thoughts on the idea of lying being okay on some aspects, like that? Sometimes you have to lie.
Well, gosh, that's a hard one, because yeah, objectively speaking, yes, but we do know that people did lie, and they lied morally. I mean, even the Pope at the time ordered people to hide Jews, to fake baptism certificates, which actually is really a bad thing to do, but they did it anyway. So you have to look at what makes, if you will, a mortal sin. You know, there have to be three conditions. It has to be, you have to know it's really evil. Was it really evil to maybe say, no, this person is this is a good Christian boy, if someone is there, or to say there are no Jews there, and then you have to, choose to do it, and freely, of your own free will. This is where we have coercion going on, because death is waiting on the other side, and then you have to do it. So that's a very long way of saying, yeah, sometimes you've got to tell something that's not necessarily true, but it is the only moral and morally good thing to do.
And this is a really interesting point, Celso, because I caught that too. Because at first he said, "I love war," and his nose didn't grow, but then now he said that he said in the same nose grew a lot. I thought it was nice, because I thought it was interesting, because the first time he said it was that he actually believed that he did. Because that was like the naiveness of him. Like, he didn't understand what it was. So he was going, I love war. But he didn't know what that meant. So it wasn't really a lie, because he really truly thought he did love it.
Right. He didn't understand the concept, but he believed it.
Exactly.
Like a lot of little boys who want to play soldier.
And then, but once he realized what war was and what that meant, and the loss of life and everything like that, like when he realized it, then he said, I love war. And it was a lie, because he didn't anymore. So that was actually really beautiful, the way they did that, to show how much he learned through his journey. Just a really, again, beautiful imagery, though, in some of these shots, especially near the end, where he's saving him, the drowning, the water effects, just everything, man. This movie is truly a work of art in so many words. Look at this scene. So beautiful. I think these are like probably the only parts that are CG, like the little sparkle stuff that they added. But other than that, everything's handmade. And then of course comes back to life. Oh, this scene though, man, the ending got me. So they go on to live together, and at first Geppetto goes because we all get older, and then that he's spending his final days with his son. God, I'm getting a little choked up.
Oh my gosh, I hated this. I was bawling so hard.
And then Jiminy Cricket goes next, and of course they have the imagery of the bunnies on it because that's where
they go.
That's where they go. And then
Remember
the
the
last
line he
one.
gave right before this? He's like, and they found me on the window ledge.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, damn.
That was dark.
Woo, that was. But again, that's that.
Deep,
That's
man.
that. That's
But it's
that,
true.
Well, again,
It's
that's that
true.
Del Toro vision, man.
But it's also true. It's like when you walk into
Mhm.
your grandma's house and she's gone. Like, it's
Mhm.
she's like, she's right on the bed. It's like where you left her, but she's gone. You're gonna have to see that. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
like those things are real, and those things are some real things that we all have to live with, and live
Mhm.
through. This scene was just absolutely gorgeous because
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
he was the final part of the family, Spazzatura, and he goes with him to the other graves. And then the next shot was that he was putting the flowers on his grave, and there was the
oh,
three of them there,
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful.
and of course his own grave is there too. Well,
Yeah.
the soul.
I had a question for script.
Please go ahead.
Because this montage, it kind of like keeps cross fading over time, and one tombstone is added, then the other. Well, what is that? What kind of theatrical device is that?
Just a way to establish the passing of time, and it's using the markers for it. So Pinocchio won't change, but all of his surroundings will. So what I think Guillermo del Toro wanted to do here, especially to kind of wrap up the main story, really just the cricket's narration of the story, is just transition to show how the landscape is changing, but he physically remains the same. But just because he physically remains the same doesn't mean he's not changing, because he's the one erecting these tombstones for these people. So you've got Carlo's tombstone, which is put up by Geppetto, and then Pinocchio is there to put up Geppetto's tombstone. Then the monkey's tombstone, because the cricket is laid at rest in his heart, and travel, and that body travels with him for whatever. But you also get not just those markers, you get the fact that because those markers exist, Pinocchio is actually maturing with each passing of someone he got to know of his family. So I don't know on the director's side of things if there's a specific technique for that, but on the writing side, it's really just trying to show how the character is passing through time unaffected.
No, I loved the way you said it, script. It marks time passing. I'm like, you shot me right to my heart, because that's why this ending is so effective. Oh my
I
God.
thought that one of the other things, and I thought it was kind of marking the symbolism aspect of it too, was the idea that, like, of course, everything you said is correct, script doctor, but I also thought what he was really talking about was the story of Pinocchio, because it is a timeless story that we've all heard time and time again, and that's what is going to go on, is his story. And that's what he was kind of like trying to say, because Pinocchio did survive, and he's going to go on, and I'm sure we'll hear the story again. So like I think that that's kind of like what's endless about it, right? Is that story. So, and then that was the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost the end. The
Yeah.
last shot, that's the best part.
This is the last
where you
shot.
find out the cricket is telling the rabbits the story
Yes.
that we just saw.
Yeah, they were playing poker. I love it. I love it.
Oh yes, I
They're having
forgot
so much
about
fun.
this.
This was the best, because this guy's like, "Are you gonna fucking play already or what?" And he's like, "Sorry, I was just telling you the story of my life and how I got here." And he's like, "I don't give a fuck about you shit. Just play the game." And then of course you get the little like the final song too
Yep.
with Ewan McGregor. There was another part too of the story that I forgot, which was also cool. Again, that kind of hits again that it was the soul of Carlo reincarnating into Pinocchio, was the fact that he knew the song that they sang without knowing the song that they sang. So like the first song that he sang with the circus people, when Geppetto was going to look for him, he's like, how does he know that song? He's just changed the words because he's like,
He
that
knows the
song that's like,
melody,
yeah, he's like, my son, my son. He knows the melody, but he's changed the words to like his own little thing that he had. So that it was again another sign that it was actually like Carlo's spirit that was reincarnated in his body. So I thought this was a really, really cool movie, a really epic tale of Pinocchio that hadn't been done, which is really surprising because Pinocchio has been done so many times. And you always think to yourself, like, really, again, like this story.
And
But
it's been done badly recently, right? The last
Yeah.
10 years. That's like
you know what?
Horrendous.
Let me ask that. Actually, that's a really good question, Polly. Because have any of you guys on the panel actually see the opposition, the opposite story,
Opposition.
The
the
opposition.
opposition story? Yeah, the Disney
it's-
story. Did you guys
It's
see
Disney's competitor for it.
Yeah.
That's a Zemeckis film, if I'm not mistaken, right?
that? I am not sure.
it is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's so weird that he did it that way, because Zemeckis is not known for dropping balls.
You saw it?
Whoa! Wait,
No,
what?
I saw the trailer and it just did not appeal to me. It didn't feel
Same.
like a Pinocchio film. One thing I did see that I actually hadn't seen in a long time, there was an anime of Pinocchio like 30 years ago or older, and it was an ongoing series.
I've seen
And I
it.
saw a trailer for that, and I thought that was pretty cool.
That's a great adaptation as well. I've seen that, the anime Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I think it's by Nippon Animation. I think. I'm trying to get some images of the live action freaking Disney version. I mean, it's
Oh,
definitely
please don't.
No. Speaking of nightmares.
well, it's
Really?
definitely it looks like, I mean, look, let's be real here. It does look like the live action version of their cartoon. I'm not gonna argue that because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what they did with it, but Tom Hanks does look like their Geppetto, and this Pinocchio thing looks like Pinocchio. It looks like the animated version of Pinocchio. Now, I don't know what they did, like in terms of story wise, or like, was it the exact same? Was it different? I actually don't know. Like, because, we know like they did Cruella de Vil, for example, and apparently it
Mhm.
wasn't that great. Like, they did the whole, she's misunderstood. But I don't know anything about this one. I just know that people say that Tom Hanks is kind of really pedophilic in it. So I'm just like, what? Like, that's the only thing I've heard people talk about. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, I don't want to see that. But now I'm kind of curious. Like, I'm like, maybe I'll just watch
The morbid
it.
curiosity.
Yeah, like
What
I'm
did they screw up?
morbidly
And
curious.
Yeah.
Like, how do you fuck up Pinocchio? Like, it's really
Right.
not.
It's on
it's
Disney
not-
Plus, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, I don't know.
That's an experiment for later.
Oh no.
That might be a good. No, I don't know. Man.
I don't know if I want to waste my time having seen, Del Toro's. I mean, I'm just saying, like, in terms of Disney live action, I mean, it looks like the Disney version. It doesn't like. I'm not into live actions though. I'm not a live action kind of connoisseur. But Jane, didn't you say you're a live action connoisseur?
I never said that necessarily.
You're like, don't put words in my mouth. I thought you
I'm
liked
not
the
a
live
huge-
actions though.
No, I'm not a huge fan of live action adaptations, but I mean sometimes they can be good.
Okay.
I prefer the animated version. I think that
Okay.
studios tend to do much better with those than live action these days.
Okay, yeah, I thought you were somebody who liked the live actions. I know like a bunch of people that are like they really don't mind the live action, but even they haven't seen this one. Like they're like, like
because the trailer for it was so bad.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen the trailer. Like, I didn't even look that up. Do we know any numbers on this? Like, was this straight to Disney Plus? Like, did this bomb in the theater, or like, was there no theater release?
I don't think there was a theatrical release at all.
Oh my God. See, this is the exact kind of comments that I've seen about this movie. Like, just that,
Oh,
Tom Hanks played it really gross.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know, because Tom Hanks is usually a pretty good actor, so I'm not really sure what the hell's going on over there. But okay. Let's see. Okay, here's some opposite points of view. How do you screw up Pinocchio, make him a child soldier instead of taking him to Toyland? But he didn't. Okay, like that's not really what happened, but okay.
No, in fact, he befriended the very child that felt he was a rival.
Yeah, and also in Toyland he turned into a donkey, dude. I mean, are we forgetting? Are we forgetting that part?
That creeped me out.
They do have a donkey allegory here. When the gas masks are put on, they all have the silhouette of a donkey's head.
Oh, that's true. Okay, what is this that you shared?
Oh yeah, it looked like an interesting article as far as like what went wrong with Tom Hanks's Pinocchio and what went and how Del Toro got it right. But you can check out some other.
All right.
Tale of Two Pinocchios.
Wasn't a wish upon a star, but rather a meteoric crash.
Right, that was a good line.
That's a great line. Wow. Okay. A straight to Disney Plus remake of the animated classic from the same studio is nearly a scene-by-scene rendition of the celebrated golden era of 1940s version. This instance on sticking with the source material was somehow not an homage, but instead a deeply offensive ripoff of the destructive animation of the original, which at the time and still to this day features some of the most beautiful technical achievement Disney has ever produced. This is funny because a lot of times, like, people like us, like reviewers, kind of review those things and they're like, at least make it scene by scene, and then they made it scene by scene and people are like, this is shit. Like, what?
It's the double-edged sword of authenticity when it comes to remakes and adaptations. Sometimes you can't just do exactly what it was done in the other medium or other version. Sometimes you needed a little extra more or a different take. Guillermo del Toro's take, which I thought was brilliant, was having the background setting be the First and Second World Wars, and showing the fact that the world is in, like, he gave us a world in its peakest of conflicts at that time, and the fact that even in those conflicts, you still have to try and find a level of normality to in order to function and get from one point to the next. And
Very good point.
I love Geppetto's journey, where he's spending basically every cent he has just trying to find his son and get him back.
Yeah. Oh my God. But he's like, this is all I have. I love that. By the way, I love that character of the captain too. Like, he got like the commandeered the boat off of. Like, the guy literally had a freaking hook for a hand and like a little stump leg. I was like, this is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, but then when he just jumps off the boat casually.
Oh, so good. Meanwhile, Guillermo del Toro's released months after Disney's is the movie-making magic that happens when a director is doggedly determined to carry out his bonkers and brilliant vision, and the studio is equally set on making his wish come true. The Mexican dark fairy tale Artur, known best for Pan's Labyrinth. Man, that movie was that messed me up when I watched that, like, for a couple days, because I didn't think that was going to be the ending. The Shape of Water, that was a great movie. And Hellboy 1 and Hellboy 2, great movies. Has attested to Pinocchio was his own personal was his own passion project. Del Toro's affection for the story and his unique twist on it is evident in the stop motion feature. How is it possible that these two versions of Pinocchio, both based on the same Italian folktale and both released in the same year, were so widely different? By chance, both of the 2022 Pinocchio remakes repeat the best and the worst of the current state of animation.
I mean, that's incredible that
Wow.
these two films came out at the same time, and the both are one is lauded and one is just that's crazy.
I get what they're talking about, though, in terms of like when you try to copy what they created. Like, I mean, look at this image. Like, look at this, right?
Oh.
In the actual, like, in their animated version, it's so much nicer. There's just soulless. Like, there's just something missing from this. And I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but it just seems really
The
like,
eyes are wrong.
They
is
look
that what it
cross-eyed.
is?
They're painted on when they should be marbles.
Yeah, why isn't the eyes like a little bit more like hers? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's like this is a weird
Like,
animation
The
choice.
Pinocchio in Del Toro's didn't have eyes, just drilled holes.
It was
into the
just
wood.
drilled holes. Yeah.
And it still had more human characteristics than that shot.
Yeah, it's ugh. Like it's just this lifeless creation that just I understand why they're saying like it's kind of like an abomination to that one, because that one was at the time was like an amazing feat of animation. Like what they were doing at the time was amazing. The CGI and the visuals throughout Pinocchio remake are sensational, as is to be expected from a movie with Robert Zemeckis. Zemeckis' Back to the Future, Death Becomes Her, who pretty much Rapid at the helm. Oh my God, this guy was at the helm, and this movie still bombed. Zemeckis' take on the wooden Italian import brings the original to life in the purest sense of the term, but in the quest for photorealism, the puppet protagonist looked as rigid as ever, with hollow emotional resonance. This Pinocchio may have had his older brother's face creepily superimposed on him, but he had none of his backbone. The 1940s Pinocchio and the storybook Pinocchio by Italian author Carlo Collodi had the cojones to bend the rules, get in trouble, defeat a terrifying will, and save his father all in one tale. This one sadly did not, leading us to not nearly care whether or not Pinocchio becomes a real boy after all. Oof. Well, there you go. Apparently this one really did suck. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Paulie. That was an interesting article to see the difference a little bit more.
Yeah, Disney's got shredded.
Oh.
Disney needs to just stop with the live actions. But you know what? At this point, what else can they do, right? Like they really don't have any creatives. They don't have anyone like Guillermo del Toro's. Like
They have no Imagineers in the writing department over there.
No.
And the other part too is that some of those live actions that they've done have made a lot of money. A couple of them haven't, but like Aladdin crossed $1 billion. Lion King was a huge hit. Beauty and the Beast was a huge hit. It's, I guess it'd be what this and the Cruella prequel did not perform as expected. If I'm understanding the information that from that article is conveying. So yeah, it's.
I wonder if Aladdin would have done as well if it was after Slap, like after like the Will Smith Slap. If it had come out after that, I don't know if it would have done as well.
I think it probably would have, because there still hasn't really been any consequences on Will Smith's part for that. Like his movie Emancipated still got made, and I believe it's releasing on streaming, and he's got a couple other more projects in the works. So nobody.
Dude,
really
I heard that movie bombed to a point where he had to come out and
Emancipated?
actually admit and say, like, I know people don't want to go see my movie because of the slap.
So Emancipated already came out?
Yeah,
it's been out.
It was just on
and it
streaming.
bombed.
What's that, Jane?
I thought it was just on streaming.
No, it's in theaters.
It
Oh,
went
is
At
into,
it?
least
I
at
didn't
least here in
know.
LA, yeah,
it
still
went
in.
to the theater and it bombed. That's what I'm telling you. Like he literally had to give interviews about how his movie's bombing because of the slap. Like people don't want to see his movies anymore, man.
I
No,
honestly don't
none of
think
that came
many
by my
people.
radar.
I don't think many
That's
people would have
interesting.
wanted to necessarily see that kind of movie either. I mean, a lot of people are
What's
just over these slave narratives anyway.
That is
Sure,
true.
I do
That is true.
agree. In the thing too is that movie was done completed before the slap.
Yes.
The slap heard round the world.
Yep.
There's another kind of film about kind of this racial issues, Till, that's out, and that's getting a
Never heard of
lot
it
of.
either.
I haven't heard of it.
It's about Emmett Till's, but it focuses on the mother after he's killed, and
Okay.
apparently she is amazing. Performance. So that performance is getting, she's already been nominated for stuff. But I was talking to Gore about it, because I didn't see it, and he's like, I saw it, and it's not an easy watch, but she's amazing, and it's kind of like, okay, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
It was yeah, I'm not into that right now either. Like I'm just like I'm so sick and tired of those topics. So like when I want to watch a movie, I'm like I want to watch something that's not about that. But okay, so okay, last question. Actually, Paulie, maybe you will know because you're more aware of what's going on because it is award season. So is this movie, is Pinocchio nominated for any awards? Because I think it should win all the awards. Like what is it nominated for? I'm guessing graphics, right? Like it has to be.
Well,
Or
best
something.
animated film. Let me.
I hope it wins all of it. I swear to God, if it's between this and what's that new gay movie from Pixar that like bombed?
Strange World?
Yeah, that one, Strange
Crack me up.
Worlds.
What's that new gay one?
Well, there's so many, right? You're like, yeah, which one?
Wow.
Yeah, like if
Correct.
it's between like this Strange Worlds and like Buzzier, I swear to God, if Strange World or Buzzier wins, I'm gonna be like, I can't hear this shit.
I like how you call it Buzzier.
Buzzier.
Not
Buzzier.
Lightyear. It's Buzzier.
It's Buzzier.
It's picked up a lot of different awards, but critics and stuff like that. Pinocchio, it's up for Golden Globes, Best Original Score, Best Animated Feature, and it's on the short
great
list for
score.
Oscars.
Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Fantastic score. Music was great. Really enjoyed that. Because it adds so much, right, to the production. Music is everything in that sense, because it's like it's just hits you on a different note.
Here, check the private chat real quick.
Let me see.
Cool. It's from their wiki.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
I mean, yeah, and as far as the short list, it's on for Best Animated Feature Oscar short list. If anyone cares about that shit, that's
not that anybody really cares, but yeah, prepare to be disappointed. Clay is right.
It may be too
that
patriarchal to win.
Yeah, this is true too. Jane, you're right. We all know it's gonna be freaking Buzz or the other one that's gonna win Best Animated Picture. Let's not kid ourselves.
The one that never got any real promotion.
Yeah.
The one that's weird. I was at the movie theater last night, packed.
What'd you see?
And I saw Babylon.
Okay. How'd you like it?
But
thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But it's not for everyone. I will say that.
Made for everyone. That's funny.
Did Script see it?
Script, did you see it yet, Babylon?
No, I have no interest in it. I read the first 10 pages of the script and said, nope, this is not for me.
But I was talking to we're waiting in line for popcorn, all that stuff, and there was a family, and we were talking, and then they're like, I asked, what are you going to see? I thought they were going to say Avatar, right? And they're like,
Sure.
Strange World. I'm like, oh, I
No.
wanted to say something.
Is that
That-
even still in the theater?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's still bombing. Dude, that's funny. Okay. Oh my god, that's funny. Oh, Chris Gore enjoyed it too. All right. All right. I have to check
Free
that out at
country.
some point. It's a free country.
Yeah, you can-
Is it? No, I'm just
like,
joking.
well,
Oh, no.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's talking about Babylon.
Yeah, no, I know.
Chris,
I know he's talking about Babylon.
Chris
Chris
did
Gore
not
enjoyed
enjoy Strange
Babylon.
World. Strange World.
Yeah, no, Chris Gore enjoyed Babylon, not Strange World.
Right. Big difference.
That's hilarious. Okay, well, this was a great discussion, guys. Thank you for coming by and talking about honestly one of my favorite movies of 2022 as well. Like, because honestly, like there was nothing that great, and I thought this was definitely something really different in all the best ways. Guillermo. I'm definitely gonna watch his new Netflix series. I can tell you that much. I had stayed away a little bit, but now that I watch Pinocchio, I'm like, okay, I gotta watch more Guillermo because it just seems like he's just so creative. I think I'm gonna really enjoy it. Have you guys seen his new Netflix series?
No.
I have not.
Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah, that one. Have you seen that?
It's on my list.
Okay, so maybe possibly for next week or the week after, guys. Maybe we should do that. Because that's also, I mean, I've heard really good things about it. So there we go. But that's it. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the movie? Paulie, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Final thoughts on Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is it's just it's an incredible film, and it's one I'm going to watch several times over the years, and it's one that's going to be discussed for many years to come, like it or not.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those well, the bar has been set high for Pinocchio, let's just say that. Script Doctor, any final thoughts on this movie?
I mean, aside from my irritation from the voice actor of the Pinocchio, I loved all the other performances of it. I thought Geppetto was brilliant. And I loved the pacing and the plotting of it. The musical numbers were wonderful. It was really fun. It was a great interpretation of the story. I highly recommend it.
I couldn't believe that Geppetto was the guy in Harry Potter that had the creepy cat. I was like, what? Like, that's the guy? He was great. He was great in this movie. I was like, oh my God, he's such a good actor. Oh my God, I just clicked on that link and I can't speak apparently because I was going to say good short list. I read that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
But
it's totally fine.
apparently Pinocchio is on a lot of these categories. So I wanted to throw
Good.
that.
It deserves all the awards, man. This thing was great.
Yeah.
Jane, any final thoughts about this movie?
Yeah, this is it's a really good, wholesome film. Other than a couple design decisions, I really enjoyed the story and the characters and the emotion and how all of it was conveyed in a very fairy tale like way. A very old school feel to it, and I enjoyed that. I feel like in the realm of what we tend to get today, it was just a really fresh alternative, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's a great take. And Teresa, any final thoughts?
Just to reiterate what I said, I felt like it was aesthetically unlike something new I've seen in a very, very long time. It was nice to see a lot of traditional imagery, and the father-son dynamic itself was just so beautiful to me. That's worth the quote unquote price of admission. It was beautiful.
Absolutely. Yes. There was one I just had another thought, like one last slide. The little wood sprite thing also reminded me of Princess Mononoke. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but they have the little wood spirits that he follows, and then he follows it to the main wood god, and it's like this deer creature.
Nice.
like the spirit of the forest or whatever it was called.
Mm.
So like there's definitely a lot of interpretations in different cultures of that kind of thing, like fairies and like
Mhm.
the wood sprites and the wood spirits, and it did give me that vibe as well, which that's why I was okay
Mhm.
with it. I think I was kind of like, well, it's a different take, like it's fine, but I would have liked the little cute fairy too, Jane. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
The girly part of me, I was like, I wanted the pretty, like dressed fairy. Like, where is she? But she wasn't there. She didn't have to be white either. She could have been blue. That's fine.
She's supposed to be blue.
Yeah, just a little
Mhm.
blueberry. Come on. But other than that, I also thought it was magnificent, and really, all I said, and throughout the whole stream, it's a beautiful work of art. It's a lost art, and I don't think you're gonna see anything like this for a long time, if ever. Because I don't think there's any other projects like this happening right now. And
Well,
it's a great
yeah.
undertaking.
Two things. Ciao Papa, such a beautiful song.
Hmm.
Play it, guys. It's so adorable. And then Guillermo del Toro and Netflix are doing Frankenstein. Starts filming in a couple months.
Mm.
Is that live
Ooh.
action?
I don't know. That's a great question. I just know that was the news off of the success of this Pinocchio. Is that they're
Oh,
They should do
okay,
another
great.
stop action animation. It would be awesome.
I know. That's why I was asking. I'm like, is it going
I
to be
think
stop
it's
motion?
live.
Because
I heard Oscar Isaac might be attached,
oh,
but
Interesting.
that's
as the
interesting.
doctor,
As
obviously.
Dr. Frankenstein, because that's
Yeah,
the doctor's name is
right.
Frankenstein.
Not the monster.
The
Right.
monster is the
Doesn't look
monster.
very European, but he could pull it off. I think he could. I think actually, if they made him the Dr. Frankenstein and the monster, I would see that.
Mm.
Ooh,
Just like
kind of
Boris
like a
Karloff.
Dr. Jekyll and Hyde thing, but he's like both. Oh, that'd be kind of
No,
cool.
like Boris Karloff played the monster and
No, he
Frankenstein.
played both. Yeah, two different
Oh,
characters.
I
So
see
that
what you
I
mean.
think
Like,
if Oscar Isaac did that, I would love that.
that'd be
Well,
cool.
it's going to be it's going to be a really interesting take from Del Toro.
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. I mean, it's Del Toro. Sign me up. Let me just say that. Like, sign me up. My friends are right. He is definitely a Mexican national treasure. So love Guillermo, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what he's got next. I'm definitely going to be watching that next Netflix series. So okay, thank you everybody. So we're gonna do the outros now. Again, Paulie, thank you so much for coming by for this special stream.
Hey,
And if we're gonna do any more Guillermo del Toro movies or anything like that, you can come back anytime you like, Paulie. Always welcome on this channel. So tell everyone where they can find you.
oh yeah, the Latino Slant. I put up videos almost every day, and then I'm live twice a week on Mr. H Reviews, his live streams Tuesdays and Thursdays, and yeah, just I cover a lot of ground, so
Excellent.
come check it out.
There you go. And all of Polly's links are in the description down below, as well as all of the panels. So make sure you're subscribed. Script Doctor, tell everyone where they can find you and what you got coming up next.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD. I do have a YouTube channel. The video editing is taking way too much time, so I did do a little video game stream earlier today. But in order to get some content out to you all and also circumvent some of the YouTube issues that have come with trying to do videos and rights and strikes and all that stuff, I started a Patreon. It's really cheap, has a lot of fun opportunities. I post news articles and essays and screenplay reviews of upcoming projects that are debuting this year. I'm currently doing one on pilot season, and I've already reviewed 2 pilots that'll be premiering during sweeps this year. So if you're interested in that type and also interested in screenwriting and the process, that would be something awesome for you to sign up with. It's patreon.com/thescriptdoctor, and yeah, you'll get a kick out of it.
Excellent. You're gonna have to give me that link later so I can put it in the description for you from now on. Teresa, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me here in Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Also, you'll just see me floating around on different ones of Jade Shadow, Lady Gravemaster. On Wednesdays, I have new videos at noon Central, and I'm continuing with the Elfstones of Shannara on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m.
Perfect. Thank you for coming by, Teresa.
Thank you.
And I see the Time Prophet. That this is funny. I was annoyed by this movie. It didn't become a real boy. I explained that in the end he wasn't supposed to. This was a different take, and I love the fact that he didn't become a real boy because it was more about the soul than the physical body. I like that. I think it's a great take. Jane
Yeah.
Theory, who's in fight with everybody on Twitter. Little Woody
is?
Woodpecker.
Indeed.
Tell everyone where they can find you, Jane Theory.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, where I post movie and TV reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jane Theory.
Woo! All of the links is in the description.
Someone said Oscar Isaac is like 5'1".
Is he?
How is he
Yeah,
gonna
he's
portray
short.
this character?
Yeah. I don't
Oh
care.
my
Sure.
God.
But it doesn't matter.
That's really short.
That's not where it counts.
Oh, whoa,
Oh, wait, I didn't say
hey,
that. That was
Whoa.
evil
Wow.
Teresa. That was the evil Teresa.
Phrasing.
God damn, Teresa.
My evil twin. My
Wow.
evil twin, Teresa. My evil twin, Teresa.
That's what she said.
Oh, I love you, Teresa. Teresa
Hi-yo.
once in a while drops these little gems, and you're like, "Oh my God, did you just say that?" It's amazing. Okay, everybody, love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the chat. Even if you disagreed and didn't like the movie, thank you for being here and voicing your opinion. It's all that matters. It's a conversation. It's very fun, and I enjoy it. And so, until next time, you guys have a great weekend, week now, because it's the weekend's over.
Yeah.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait, what should we end it in? Naked Tom Hiddleston
Yes,
for
please.
Teresa?
For me. Thank
All
you.
right, let's see. Where are you?
Ooh, there's a new hottie really fast. Have you guys checked out 1923?
Excuse me, who's this hottie, and what's 1923? What?
Check out the TV show 1923.
Harrison Ford not being old.
It's Harrison Ford's son.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's very macho masculine and has his shirt off half the time, ladies.
1923. Jane, we're checking out 1923.
Next week.
All right, 1923. Everybody,
Sorry,
have a good one.
yeah.
Bye.
I'm so sorry.
I'll survive.
I don't doubt it. You're an excellent specimen. I thought you were empty.
I just moved in.
I'm Charlotte Melville.
Hi. Sorry, I must have fallen asleep.